Hey, fellas and felleritas. So, I got asked this question. I get asked often enough, but I wanted to answer with all of you in my school classroom. Link in bio. uh, Injuries are going to happen. You are going to be injured your entire career. It's always going to be the case. Now, most of the time, I say, all right, ignore the injury and keep going until you hurt something else worse, and then you'll forget about the first one. And that is how I've spent most of my career. I hurt something, I ignore it. I hurt something else, forget about the first one. Works perfectly. But now you will be injured a few times that you cannot ignore. The jaw break, for one. I've broken my jaw twice. The first time I broke it was the closest to retiring that I've ever been. Sean Strickland kicked me in the jaw, and it was just a little nothing kick. He wasn't trying to. I know he can spar like a jerk, but this was just a nothing kick that landed. And it split my bottom teeth in two. You could see everything. It was, actually, I'll tell the quick story. So we were sparring. Now, Sean Strickland and I used to beat him up. I used to be able to bully him. Since he broke my jaw, he never stopped. He just got better. Oh, that son of a gun. He hit me, boom, and I shook him off, and he's like, it was a nothing kick. He said, what happened? Well, why? Are you okay? He said, no. I went and sat down. My parents were actually in town for whatever reason. I was out in California. They lived in Wisconsin. They came up, and I sat down, and I could feel my mouth pooling with blood, and I shook him off and said, give me a second. So I went to the bathroom. I took my mouth guard out. I spit, gobs of blood out, and I looked in the mirror, and my teeth were split. It's like, oh, man. And I yelled out of the bathroom, Brett, which is she's my wife then too. Yeah, she's my wife then too. Brett, we have to go to the doctor. And she said, why? I said, because I broke my jaw. It's like, So we went to a dentist first where he took the x-ray and he said, there's a chance it's just a tooth, not the jaw. And then he x-rayed and said, nope, it's the jaw. He said, I can't fix it. We got to send you to a specialist. So they sent me to a specialist. At which point they said, yeah, it's pretty broken. We're going to put you under and wire your mouth shut for 6 to 8 weeks. And I said, huh? What? It's not how today's supposed to go. And I remember it was the first time in my married life, probably my adult life, I was actually scared. And it was about being put under. I'm the primary breadwinner for my family. My family relies on me. And if I get put under, although I know you will be okay getting put under, there's the chance that they give you too much, too little, or this, that. And so for the first time in my life, I was like, I don't know what to do. I said, well, we have to get it done. We said a little prayer. Lord, watch over me. It'll be fine. They put me under. I woke up and they wired me shut. I could not talk more than this for 6 weeks. It's about 6.5 weeks. I got so thin and fat at the same time, meaning I lost a ton of weight because you can't eat anything. But then I got really fat too because all you can eat is more or less ice cream. And broth is too thick most of the time. It's something, broth has stuff in it. It's too thick to eat through your teeth. I was miserable. I had considered, it was so bad. I really considered, I don't want to fight anymore because this could happen again. And I'm not willing to do this. The wires came off. And now I'm terrified I'm going to break it again. Like, it is in the back of my mind saying, if I break it again, I'm going to get wired shut again. And it's weak now because bones are always weak after they set. And the dentist doctors, they told me, listen, you have to not take any contact for 5 to 6 months. At 5 to 6 months, that'd be 99% to strong. I said, okay. And I stayed with it. I did not get hit. I was terrified of re-breaking it. I did not get hit in the face. I did a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of other stuff, a lot of body shots, a lot of pancreation type stuff, where I protected my jaw. But I'm a fighter. That's where I make my living. I had to fight eventually. And so I got the fight against Elias Theodoru. And I needed to start getting hit again. So I had headgear on, mouth guard, my mouth was clenched. I protected it as best I could. But at some point, I had to man up and I had to be willing to break it again or I had to stop fighting entirely. And say, well, I can do this. I will change the way I fight ever so slightly. I'll be a little faster. I'll keep that chin down. I'll protect myself more. And so that's what I did. and I did not break it again. I protected it for a long time. I was really good at keeping that chin down. Every injury, everything that happens to you in camp in a fight can make you a better fighter if you work it that way. My chin was obviously in the wrong place. My hands were in the wrong place when I got kicked. And so I spent the rest of my time since that injury trying not to get kicked again, trying the best I can to improve my defense. Chin down more, jaw tight more, hands, a little tighter in. And it worked. I mean, it worked. It was because I was worried about the injury. I became a better fighter eventually. But the mind screwing that took place was, it was hard. It was hard. And then I said I broke my jaw a second time. My last fight in the UFC. And now y'all know I was on a skid of hell. Like me and Tony Ferguson, we were in a special club together. Now, I think I won 4 of those last 7 or 8, where Tony did not. But this last fight in the UFC, it was the only fight in my life where I was beat up. This man came in and just beat me up. I've never been beat up. I've lost fights, but I've never been beat up before. This man beat me up. And he came out, his first punch, right down the middle, broke my jaw again. And I felt it immediately, and it just angered me. And then I spent the rest of the next 3 minutes trying not to die. And eventually got close, and Herb Dean stopped the fight. Herb Dean gave me every chance to survive. But anyways, I get his hand gets raised. I go to my corner. So my jaw is broken. It's broken. I got to go to the doctor. So we went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, we could probably wire it shut. I said, listen, please don't wire me shut. I'm pleaded with the doctor. Do not wire me shut. If it doesn't need it, please don't. I don't want that again. He said, we probably should, but I mean, if you can promise, if you eat anything harder than pudding for the next 6 weeks, your jaw is going to dislocate. It's going to be bad. So I promise I will eat nothing but pudding. Just don't wire me shut. And so I convinced him, asked him not to wire me shut. He didn't wire me shut. I actually then went overseas the next day. I did a military tour with a bunch of other fighters and did seminars, and I warned everyone, said, guys, I can't roll. My jaw's broken. I can talk. I can demonstrate. I can't roll. But yeah, it re-broke a second time. That second time, because I was not wired shut, it did not affect my brain. Like I just knew, okay, stay away, I'll be fine. Because I had lived through it once, okay, stay away, I'll be fine. I should say the first time they didn't have to put any plates in. They could adjust it. And, I'm Smiling Sam. I'm known for great teeth. I have had perfect teeth my whole life. And I have a slightly crooked bottom tooth. Slightly. I notice it. Nobody else in the world notices it. And it was that first break, and it drives me nuts. It's a constant reminder of what Sean Strickland did to me. I got even, though. I broke his knee at some point. But he's a good training partner. But anyways, that you will get injured. You will be hurt. You will consider retiring because of it. Retiring is not the worst option. Now, as bad as that sounds, I am here to encourage you guys to become the greatest fighters that have ever been. Retiring is not a bad option. Fighting is a hard career. However, if you retire, you do not have a career anymore. You have to have another job. You have to be able to do something else. You have to then live with yourself saying, yeah, I got hurt and so I quit. Some people are fine with that, and I complete respect to them. I can understand you break that jaw, you never want it to happen again. Don't do it. Don't put yourself in the place to do it again. But keep in mind, you can break your jaw in a car. You can get a car accident. You could walk into a pole on accident. You can be looking at your wife's beautiful eyes and then break your jaw. You can break your jaw in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways that are not as much fun as sparring, as fighting. So I guess the moral of my story is, be aware you are going to get hurt. When you get hurt, do everything you can to make yourself a more complete, a better fighter. I made sure I was not going to break my jaw again. I changed a lot about the way I fight, about the way I spar, about the way I train. And for years, I made it another 6-7 years without breaking that jaw again. Eventually somebody found it, but it was destined to happen. So anyways, again, I'm posting this on YouTube, but I'm also going to post it in school because I'm talking specifically to one guy, Mr. Randall. I hope that answered your questions. Please continue asking. I'm happy to answer any more. It's scary getting back in there, but it's one of those things you've either gotta man up and do it. And that's the wrong way to say it, because if you don't get back in there, it's not that you're not manning up, but if you do get back in there, I'm calling that manning up. You have to be willing to improve. You have to be willing to risk it happening again and just try real hard not to. So that's my advice. I hope it helps. I hope it gives you the courage to step back in there. And yeah, I hope I can be there and watch as you start breaking other people's jaws again.